Curtis, this is a conversation that in some respects I never thought we would actually have. But a few days on from the announcement that your time at Derby County is coming to an end, how are you feeling?
It's the million-dollar question. I think I was kind of ready for it. I think last season, with the way that this season ended and not knowing whether we were going to have a club and potentially thinking that I wasn't going to be able to stay here because one, we might not have a club, or two, there might not be anything there for me. I think that was a lot harder. I think this year, I've always been quite honest, I haven't played enough. I haven't played the games I wanted to play. And ultimately with a new manager, he'll want to put his own stamp on a team. And with players being out of contract, I think the manager's taken the opportunity to do so. So yeah, it's kind of, I've almost been slightly ready for it. It's just because of the fact of the last game could have been an extra 3 weeks, potentially. But then it all of a sudden just comes to a head and that's it. You go off home, you say your goodbyes and you're done. But obviously that's football. We are ships in the night, as they always say, and I've enjoyed my time here thoroughly.
The club announced the news and you put the statement out on your social media as well. Did you have the words ready for a while? Did you write it before, or did it come quite quickly in the moment?
If I'm honest, I wrote a lot of it beforehand. I was anticipating this moment, and I'd written a lot of the base of it, but then once you actually start writing with emotion, it kind of, most of it got crossed out, scribbled out, and then adding bits on, and you know, it ends up being a long piece that actually came from my heart rather than me just thinking of what should I say, you know. So yeah, I had a little bit written out, but I think probably I retained about 20% of it in the end and added a bit more and stuff like that. But yeah, it's never easy leaving the football club. And I guess people say, oh, would you have wanted to stay and all things like that. I don't think there was a wrong answer for me, really. So when I went to see the manager, I was of the case that I wanted to play games. So if the manager turned around to me and said, like, you're going to be playing, or you're going to be fighting for your place at least, and that's where I see you, then I might have had a decision to make. But you know, ultimately that wasn't the case, and I can go about it, and I'm quite relaxed actually, because at my age you maybe wouldn't have expected to have a new challenge, but I'm excited for whatever comes next. In terms of, I want to play on. I definitely want to play on and keep playing. I believe my body will allow me to do that. And yeah, I'm excited to see what happens next.
Let me take you back in time a little bit. This place, Pride Park and Moor Farm of course as well, has been home for the last 6 years. What did you expect of Derby County when you arrived?
This is definitely a different playbook when I arrived. When I arrived, I obviously Gary Rout was here. I played against your side in the playoff semi-finals for Hull City. Knew it was a side that was always pushing towards promotion. Unfortunate in the playoffs in 2014 as well. So I knew the club was obviously, you know, it's a massive club anyway, but in terms of, you knew the club was in the right direction and pushing towards where we wanted to be, which was the Premier League. So when I was relegated with Hull City, the conversations come up and Derby were in the picture. And it was a no-brainer for me. It worked for me in terms of having spoken to Gary. He was a really good guy, really easy conversation, somebody that I really warmed to straight away. I think the feeling was mutual in the fact that, you know, they managed to get an offer together quite quickly. But you know, you come here and if you're not impressed, then I don't know what you're going to be impressed by. Basically, you know, this club is it's full of history, full of tradition. I didn't learn most of that until I came to the club, but to be part of it and sitting here 6 years later, it's probably one of the best decisions I've made in my life.
That first season was almost perfect, personally and for the team.
Yeah, I think I played every minute bar 8 maybe against Burton Albion. I remember coming off, where we were obviously chasing the goal. Yeah, it was nearly. You know, we obviously had the first leg against Fulham, which was famous for the 1-0 win and the atmosphere and stuff like that, but we couldn't follow it up at Fulham, at Craven Cottage, and that saw us out. and it was unfortunate, you know, but Fulham had been the better team probably over the 2 legs and over the season, so I guess it was a fair way. But it's always a case that if could have gone up that year, what might have been for this club, what might have been for the team and the players around it, and the names they might have been able to make for themselves. But unfortunately we didn't get it that year. The next year obviously Frank comes in, totally different manager, new to the game, totally different way of wanting to do things, brings in these young kids of Mason Mount, Harry Wilson, Fikayo Tomori, who obviously are now superstars. And we had a right good go at it. Obviously myself, I suffered injury early on in the season, which my first injury, I had a hamstring nerve problem. And then after that, I did my Achilles, so I was pretty much on the sidelines for most of it. But it was a massive opportunity for the club, you know, whether people expected it or not. But to go to Leeds after the defeat here in the first leg, and go to Leeds in the manner that we won there, even though I didn't play, it's one of my favourite nights being involved with this club. I was in the stands, obviously, watching with the lads that were injured, and it was incredible. And we did manage to go over that hurdle that we missed out on at Fulham. But again, unfortunately, we got to that final hurdle at Wembley against Aston Villa, a very good Aston Villa side, and we couldn't quite get over the line. So it was sad, it was a shame. But again, we still felt like we were in a position as a club and as a squad that we could build on that and have another go at it.
Yeah, when you look back at your record and your CV as a Derby County player, that's the only thing missing really, isn't it, that promotion?
Yeah, and that's it, you know. I only count the first one as mine as such, so that obviously having played all the minutes and stuff like that, that would have been massive. You know, if the second one had happened with Frank, obviously I'd be celebrating with everyone else and be delighted for us to go up. But in terms of, I wouldn't have earned that, so it wouldn't have been as heartfelt. I would have been buzzing that the lads have done it, but it wouldn't have been as heartfelt to have earned that one. Especially, you know, people were saying before, if they win the trophy, will you lift it? Because I was the captain. I was like, no chance. Like, I can't be that guy that's trying to lap up the centre of attention when actually these guys have gone and done it. So, but then the next season started again with another big football name, and we hoped that we'd be able to push on.
You mentioned the captaincy, and you've been the captain at various stages, and I think in the eyes of many, you've been the captain for a long time here. Can you just talk to me about what that has meant to you and what the armband has meant to you?
I know this will sound cliche. I think when people come to me and see me as the captain, that means a lot more to me, because they believe I've got something to offer them. I've got a value to them in terms of my experience, in terms of my guidance, in something they can maybe do on the pitch, in what I've been through. So that means a lot more to me when someone wants to open up to me or come to me with a problem they want me to solve. The armband is a big thing, you know, in terms of being able to lead your team out, and I don't take that for granted, but I was always doing the same things without it. So whilst Richard Keogh was captain, whilst Tom Lawrence was captain, I was doing the same things. So it is a big thing in terms of the captaincy and being a leader, but it's not the be all and end all. You can always play that role from wherever you sit in the game, be it on the pitch, off the pitch. I've had to play a captaincy role from on the sidelines most of this season, and I've had to do that for half of 2 of the seasons I've been here with my 2 Achilles injuries. So it's something that I take pride in and something that I enjoy. But yeah, it's something that, like I say, is very special at a club like this. But I always would have been the same guy whether you gave it to me or not.
Well, look at this. Derby preparing to bring on Curtis Davies. We were told his season was over back in December when he suffered an Achilles injury away at Brentford. He's not been back out on the grass all that long. But if you want heart, if you want character, if you want commitment, if you want a leader, this is your man, and on comes Curtis Davies.
Final day of the 2020-21 season, which for me, and I think for many, is sort of the defining Curtis Davies moment when you come on against Sheffield Wednesday. How do you look back on that?
I always look back on it with a smile on my face because we survived, first and foremost. But you will not realise how tense and nervous I was for the whole day. And it wasn't a nervousness in terms of worrying about, are we going to lose the game or anything like that. It was just what my role was going to be. I think, you know, I've been on the bench and I've been in the stands and stuff like that, and been a person from the sideline anxious because you're not out there. But when you haven't had any football for, I think, 4.5 months, you've just been with the physio pretty much. The most you've done football-wise is maybe a few long kicks, a couple of headers, maybe light headers and stuff like that. It was daunting to think, well, you're hearing the results. It was lockdown, obviously. You're hearing the radio, so you're hearing, oh, Cardiff has scored. Oh, it's good for us. Then Rotherham have scored. Now we need to score a goal ourselves. Then we go behind, and all the kind of roller coaster of it, whilst I'm still trying to just focus on my warm up. And that's the crazy thing, because I was just thinking, right, the whole second half I was going out to warm up and I was going to stay out. And that's what I did. I just stayed on the sideline, I was stretching, I was moving. Didn't know if I was going to come on up front. I didn't know if I was going to come on in my position. Didn't know if I was going to come on at all. And that's the hardest part of it for me. I think if I knew, right, you're coming on at 80 minutes and you're coming on up front, I get my head around it. I start visualising what I'm going to do, or start watching the game from up there. Where can I exploit the spaces? But because I didn't have that information, of course, it was just mad. So whilst our game's going on, like I say, and that was a roller coaster as it was, my heart and my head, the emotions that were going on inside my head was topsy-turvy as well. But the craziest thing about it is, as soon as I get on the pitch, that's it, I'm calm, I'm fine, I know what I'm doing there. Especially being at centre half as well, not centre forward. It was utopia, it was very calm, and I was able to focus on my job, win headers, clear the ball, defend. And that made it easy, and the 10 minutes that I came on went like that. And I think it just shows when you're in it and you're in the moment, you're not thinking about being in the moment. It does go so quick, and I can say the same for my time at the club. You know, I've been here 6 years, as long as I've ever been at a football club, most appearances I've made for a football club, and even that doesn't seem like my debut at Sunderland seems a click away. So I think, yeah, emotions after that game came really quick. You know, I kind of, the realisation of what I'd done as such, put myself through, and that we'd stayed up. But it was also a bit of, this might be the last time I'm playing for this club, and I'm in an empty stadium, and I'm having to kind of celebrate with the lads in terms of that we've stayed up in this empty stadium, and that was tough for me. So it did bring a few tears to the eye, but fortunately I was invited back next year, and and then we had another go.
I mean, you could have left that summer after that. Why did you stay? Why did you want to stay?
I think a big thing was I felt like I owed something. Having been injured and not being able to help the lads, I think for me there was kind of unfinished business as such, and I never felt that we should ever have been in that position where we were at the bottom of the league. So I think that played a big part in it. And realistically, it's the only place I wanted to be. So I came back to train and to get fit first and foremost, and that's what I was kind of invited in for. And then we started obviously talking about staying here and signing a contract. So yeah, it obviously the club was a big factor for me. You know, any other club or any other person that maybe invited me in somewhere, it might have been the same. But the fact that I was here, I wanted to be here, wanted to help the team into a better situation than we were before, meant a lot to me, so that's why I wanted to stay.
And you stay, and I know it's difficult to separate what happened to the team and to the club and the season you had personally, but to play every single minute, to win Player of the Year, to contribute in the way that you did, do you look back on that with a real sense of pride now, despite the fact the club were relegated ultimately?
I do take a lot of pride in the fact, you know, as we just spoke about, coming back from a serious Achilles injury, which was my my third Achilles injury, at the time. You know, and I was 36 years old. People would have written me off, you know. So to say,
do you think people did?
I think people did, yeah. Maybe maybe not within this football club, because people know me and my character and my determination and the way I work in the gym, the way I work on the training pitch. I think it's different when people know you. But the fact that I came into the season, I was fit, you know, felt good. If I'd got 30 games, I think people would have been impressed. But to play every single minute was something I maybe didn't even expect. I don't usually get niggles, so I've never been too much of a niggly person. But even so, when you've been out for that long and you're trying to chase something that you want, especially, like say, you having to maybe play through little knocks because you're fighting relegation, to stay fit and see it through was massive for me.
The goal at Reading is one of my favourites. Did you score enough goals for Derby?
That year I did. When it mattered, I did. Unfortunately, it didn't help us, but I didn't, no. I think before I came here, I always score in bunches. It's strange. So when I was at Hull City, I had a season where I scored, well, from Birmingham to Hull City, I had a 6, a 6 and a 5. So I was quite a regular, a 1 in 10, 1 in 8 goal scorer, which for a centre half you'll take. Coming here, got a goal reasonably early against Hull City and hoped that I'd be able to get that trend going again, especially being back in the Championship and things like that. And unfortunately, I didn't score again until 4 years later. And even then, whether that goal's mine or not, I don't know. They've given it to me, so I'm never going to give it back, don't get me wrong. But whether that goal was mine or not, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I probably didn't score enough. But to find goals and have that feeling again was massive. But the Reading one, obviously, I listened to your commentary when I watched the clip. And even that gives me tingles. So I just think of the moment, obviously went ballistic. The header itself was a good header. I don't even think about it being a good goal. I just delighted it's gone in the back of the net. And I'm just going mad because the emotion of getting back into the game, but a lot of it was frustration because we'd battered them on the night. We were so much better than them. They scored a really good goal through Junior Hoylett and then a second one, which was a tap-in from him, which was kind of our error. So to get those 2 late goals, obviously Kaz getting the first and then myself, it was massive. And we hoped, especially being Reading were right near us, at that time it kept them in distance and we were hopeful that we could kick on from there. Unfortunately, it didn't happen that way, but all I ever say is it wasn't for the want of trying, because honestly those lads in that change room gave every single thing they had to try and help this club stay up.
You've always had a wonderful connection with the supporters, and it was astonishing reading the replies to your post on social media from the fans, but from a lot of former teammates as well, and you've mentioned some of them already, but there are plenty more. I mean, have you read all of those messages, and how much do they mean to you?
I haven't, I've looked through, there's a lot of them, and I've looked through, but it's quite self-indulgent. I didn't do it for those purposes. I wanted to say my goodbye. I wanted to address the fans myself rather than it just be a statement goes out. I never address it and then I just go on into the future. So I never wanted to do that. So I haven't looked through all of them. I've seen them, come up on when I'm scrolling on Instagram and someone's liked them or commented, and it means a lot to me. Of course it does. Be it former teammates, be it players I've played against, be it fans. It does mean a lot to me. But yeah, I don't like to be too self-indulgent and make things like that my be-all and end-all, because if I got abuse, it wouldn't matter. My message was for my fans that have supported me for the last 6 years, and yeah, but it is honestly, it does warm your heart when you get that kind of response.
You said it earlier, 6 years, longer than you've been at any other club, and you finished with 175 appearances for Derby as well, which is more than any other club too. And I know you're loved elsewhere, Luton, Villa, West Brom, Birmingham, can go on and on with the list. But do you think when the career is over, and I know it isn't yet, but when it is, do you think you will think of yourself as a Derby County player first and foremost?
It's hard to see past that, yeah. I think, my time here, the roller coaster, the ups and downs, everything we've been through as a group, if you don't become bonded to that, then you never should have been here in the first place. And the fact that I've been here through all of it, like I say, if I didn't care, I could have potentially left and tried to go somewhere else, or gone somewhere a little less stressful, shall we say. But it means a lot to me, and I think this will be the club that's associated to my name when I retire. I think it will be, you know, obviously you work on games for certain clubs and stuff like that, and they might have you linked to that club, you know, Villa these years, but I think I'll always be remembered as a Derby player more than anything else. I think Hull's a close second, I give it that. You know, on my time at Hull, and another roller coaster time at that club, and obviously famously scoring an FA Cup final will be something that people attach me to. But I think this club's my club.
Is there the hope that there is going to be some sort of association going forward, formal association, if not straight away, then maybe in the future?
Yeah, there's conversations going on between myself and the higher ups that are trying to see where we can make something happen that I'm associated with this club formally. Right now, there's certain things that I need to think about, and things that I want to do with myself in terms of my career, be it playing on, and then potentially media stuff and stuff like that, and that I need to have a good think. But I think even so, if it's not immediately that I'm going to be part of something next year, I think there will be hopefully something in the future where I can be back here in some capacity. That's not a guarantee by any means, because you know my career might go off in a totally different direction, and the club might move on in a totally different direction. But yeah, I'm hopeful that one day I can be a part of this club again, and officially be with all you guys and be here at Pride Park for some games and stuff like that.
What are you going to remember most from your time at Derby?
The people. I think, you know, we can talk about individual games and, you know, down times, high times, but they're short emotions because another game comes up. The relationships you build with people like yourselves, people at the training ground, like Phil and Sue obviously always get a mention, but you know, the hard working, grafting people of this community that work at our training ground, I think that's what I will hold on to. I think that's the most thing, because those are genuine. On the sideline, we could be losing a game, you're getting booed by the same people that are cheering you a week ago. So that's not that that's not genuine, but that's an emotion. Whereas a long-term emotion is, I like this person because I've worked with them so long and I like them. Some you might not like, but I'm saying the people I've met at this club have been fantastic, and yeah, I'll always hold them closely to my heart. And like I'm hoping that now and then I will be able to obviously pop into Moor Farm. I need to go and see Phil particularly because I didn't get to see her on my last day. But yeah, just hold on to the people and hold on to the memories that you share with those people, because football comes and goes, but people don't. And yeah, there's some great people associated with this football club.
Curtis, as always, it has been a pleasure, and on behalf of everyone connected with Derby County, thank you.
Thank you very much, mate.